pitchers are going to hurt a little more when they land. Let them go.
One guy 6'7". How big's Johnston? 6'5".
No, I think he's 6'7" also. Yeah, that's pretty good size.
Welcome to the Instigators Hockey Show. That guy right there, that's Chris Kotsopoulos. Paulie D, welcome back. Welcome to 2024. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Let me lower the music here. I don't know what else to say, man. Time's flying. The end of the 2023 year and season. We fall into the 24 part of the NHL now. Lot to talk about. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to everyone.
Yeah, and what's your New Year's resolution, Paulie?
I don't have one.
I got one. I promise to take a shower this year.
Oh, geez. Guy's out of control.
Hey,
I promise to be nicer to you, I guess.
What else are you gonna do when you listen? Remember, I'm officially 65 now. I'm one of the old people now. So
Yeah,
be nice to your elders, okay?
Wow, man, what a year! We're gonna do a little bit of everything tonight. I mean, we'll go around the league a little bit. Lot to talk about. Some player safety things going on, and the Michigan goals. We'll talk about the hottest teams in the league. We're going to talk about the Rangers 5-on-5. There's a ton to do. Chris, I want you to start because you have a really cool stat that we discussed before the show. I just let you take it away from there.
Oh, we're talking about Connor McDavid, aren't we? Is that what
That's it.
Yeah, he became the fifth fastest in NHL history to reach 900 points in his career. He did it in his 600th game. He did it last night. He got 5 points in the game last night. I watched the one goal. He had another one of those super speed, soft hand, end-to-end rushes that they couldn't stop and just burned the goalie with a goal. But that's a milestone for him. He's the fifth fastest in the history. The other four are pretty interesting. One, Peter Stastny, did it in less than 600 games. I think he did like 580 something. Then there's somebody that everybody might forget, but was an unbelievable goal scorer in his day, and that's Mike Bossy. Is the third quickest to 900 points. I can't remember the number exactly with him, but it's in the 500s somewhere. And then obviously it goes right down to number 2 and number 3. Number 2 is Mario Lemieux at 456 games it took Mario to get 900 points. And then, drumroll, Wayne Gretzky. 385 games to get 900 points, Paulie.
That's ridiculous, man.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I was there for most of them. I got to see almost 10 full years of that man, and about 7 years of Mario, 6-7 years of Mario Lemieux, and Mike Bossy. Boy, I'll tell you what, if he had never had the back injuries that he had, he might be the all-time leading actual goal scorer. He might have had Gretzky beat. But his back went on him, and he had to retire real early, and obviously he passed away in the last few years. But if you average Mike Bossy's year by year by year goal scoring, I don't think anybody was better. But that's impressive by Connor McDavid. And, with him doing all that stuff right now, Paul, remember like on our previous shows how Edmonton was kind of struggling and not in a playoff, and two highly prized, sought-after superstar players, and him and Draisaitl, they're 14-3 their last 17 games since they made that change at coaching, and they're right on the cusp of being in a playoff spot right now out in the West. So that's something to keep an eye on. No question about it. But congratulations to Connor McDavid, who I think is probably the best player in the world, and that is by far right now.
I don't disagree with that at all, man. Here's what I want to open up a couple of things here. Let me see.
Sure.
Um, what did I do with you? Where'd you go?
I'm here. We can see you. How can you miss this large head of mine? Come on.
No, I know. I'm trying to split my screen up here.
Okay.
A couple things I want to talk about. Obviously, Coyotes forward Zucker to have a player safety hearing for the boarding interference call against Cousins. Kotz, did you see that hit or you didn't?
I seen it.
Okay, what's your thoughts?
It's almost like every other one that we see now. Like you're going to have the half glass full, and the half glass empty. People are going to take sides. Okay, you know. To me, it's a lot of bullshit. Okay, the same thing happens all the time in this wonderful league. It's still a wonderful league, the NHL, but they try to portray it as a safety first league by using rules, suspensions, fines. How's it working?
Yeah, I don't know.
How's it really work? Let's be honest here. How's it really work? Since they had a sheriff that sits in Manhattan watching all this stuff and then doles out the penalties, non-penalties. Oh, that's illegal. This is a cheap hit. That's not. How's it been working? Has it slowed it down at all? No.
No.
You know what slows it down? Exactly. Let the players take care of the bullshit themselves. Don't rely on a rule book. Don't rely on a sheriff of discipline in the NHL. Don't rely on that crap.
Yeah.
He's not the only one. They hit the Cousins hit. Yeah, it was a little cheap shot, but you know what? Every game there's almost a cheap shot poly going on. And every game we see now, if there's a good, clean, legal hit, somebody's got to react to it. We got to fight right away. That's the NHL's fault, Paul. It's the NHL's fault, period. Plain and simple. Allowing this to happen.
Well, it's funny you say that because I know that there's a lot of discussion about that, and I believe at the All-Star break they're going to break in the Board of Governors meeting, and I would not be surprised if next year. Actually, you're supposed to see more of it now, and I think you have seen more misconducts and more instigators called, but. You go after a player after he's laid a clean hit, and there's gonna be some calls made on that. You should we are starting to see it. I don't disagree with you. I just think I just wanted to hear what you had to say. I know in your day, if that happens, somebody's got to answer, and it gets taken for what it is on the ice. And it's a shame that they don't let the players police the game the way that they could and the way that they should.
Well, you know what it is, Paul? It's not so much that we would react right away. It's today's players. It's really not the tough guys that are doing this. In my day, the guys that weren't tough would never think of hitting people from behind.
Right.
But today's players are doing it now. And they've been doing it for a decade or so now. That's the part that I don't understand. And then when you look at it further, when there is an actual clean hit, it's not a tough guy that's challenging that guy all the time anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like it makes me laugh when I see that. Here's a clean hit. Everybody knows it's a clean hit. Even the guys on the ice that are playing, the two benches know it. But it's a must now. You must turn and go after that guy.
Yeah.
And these misconducts and whatever you're talking about, game misconducts and instigator penalties, that's a lot of crap too. What, you're going to throw guys out with 5 minutes to go? That's what they've been doing. Giving 10-minute misconducts a guy with 5, 4, 3 minutes to go in the game now. What gives you the justification to do that? Oh, you don't want to start a riot? Well, there hasn't been a riot in the NHL in 20 years. You know what I mean? There hasn't been a major bench clearing brawl or anything like that in 20 years. So, right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I know.
There's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed.
We'll move past it. There's so many other things I want to talk about. Cots, I didn't realize. I've been. I had a lot of company, a lot of things going on. But I didn't realize Craig Berube lost his job either.
They gone Craig. They gone him big time in St. Louis. There's a guy who wins the Stanley Cup. What, 3-4 years ago? You're out.
Yeah. So
that's what happens in pro sports in general. Unless you're like some of the sports, they're not only the coach but they're the general manager. Okay, but in hockey, you're just the coach. Your team's floundering. You're the first guy to go. It ain't going to be the president of the team. It ain't going to be the manager of the team. It's going to be the coach first. Now, now that they got an interim coach there, it's going to be the players next. That's what it's going to be. That's how it goes, Paulie, in hockey.
Yep.
The president of the team does not go first. GM does not go first.
Right.
Goes is
coach goes first.
Head coach. Yeah. After that, then the players. What's up, Michael? About time you get on here.
Hey, Phil, you know what? There's one of the things I want to bring up, and we mentioned it before we started. I'm pretty passionate about this, and I feel pretty strong about this, and I really would like the chat room and anybody who listens to this program to kind of chime in either now or on the Instigators page on Facebook or whatever. But I'm going to bring this up because I think it's important. Talk about rules and parts of the game. So obviously, we all know the goal. That's the scoring technique that's called the Michigan. It's really a lacrosse move where a player, and I think Bedard did it last week. A player kind of scoops the puck up in a shovel kind of motion, and then raises it, kind of like lacrosse, and then obviously just kind of tosses it in the net. And right now, this goal is being allowed in the NHL, and I have to be honest with you. I've been through some forums and have discussed this, but I haven't brought it up on the show. I feel, though, this move should be illegal in the NHL immediately because, for one, it's not a hockey move, it's a lacrosse move. And for two, in lacrosse, you can check a stick with your stick. And in the NHL, you can't slash another player's stick. So if the player has the puck up here, you can't slash the puck out of his stick because that would be considered slashing, I would imagine. You can't slash another player's stick according to the rule book. So I just feel like unless you change slashing the stick rule, you cannot allow this goal in the NHL because you're carrying the puck, waist high or however high in a lacrosse motion. It's not lacrosse, it's hockey. So in lacrosse, when you're holding the ball, a lacrosse player is allowed to check your stick with his stick. And unless they allow that rule in the NHL, which I would doubt, then I don't feel that this should be a good goal in the NHL. And I would love to know people's opinion on the Michigan goal in the NHL right now.
I'll tell you what, you couldn't have explained it any better. Anybody listening out there, that was a great explanation of it, Paulie. People talk. I heard Wayne Gretzky say that he couldn't do that in his day. Well, sorry, Wayne, you could. You just never tried to do it in a game because I remember guys in practice in my day that could do that. They would do that in practice. They would flip the puck on their stick, carry it around, goof it around. But nobody ever had the nerve or I guess the gumption to try doing it in a game. While the modern day has excelled, these guys, and we've seen this more often than once now. Started in college. Came to the pros, now it's in the NHL. I totally agree with you, Paulie. It's a situation where the NHL has to do something about it. Because if you think I'm going to let you do that as a defenseman, make me look stupid coming out to the front of the net like that without me doing something to stop you, and how's the only way I'm going to stop you? It's got to be stick-on-stick action. It has to be. I'm not gonna try and put a shoulder into the shaft of the hockey stick. I'm gonna slash like I'm chopping a tree.
Right.
That's the way it should be for them to stop this thing. But like you said, I saw like last night, one-handed slashes get called. So now they're in a predicament, the NHL, with this one. I know it looks good publicity-wise when they see this, and it's a highlight reel for everybody across the world on every news channel that doesn't even cover hockey. But you're right, Paul. It's not a hockey move.
Right.
If they want to allow that, then you should be able to allow to knock the shit out of this guy with your stick.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Right.
Plain and simple.
So,
I should be allowed to use my stick in reaction to that.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And that's how, it like, again, that is a lacrosse move. That's where it's taken from. And in lacrosse, you can check a stick with a stick. So I'd be curious to know if it gets discussed, but I would like in our forum right here on this, in your comments on Facebook, I'm going to bring this up.
Yeah, we should put that up as a question on our Facebook page.
Absolutely. We'll do it.
Just to get a handle on what people think. But see, when you mentioned lacrosse, I from growing up in Canada, I mean, we all had lacrosse sticks growing up too. Watching that sport, you're allowed to slash. You're allowed to cross-check.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't you be allowed to do this again? If you're going to pull this fancy bullshit move, then I should be able to do whatever I have to do to stop you.
Right. There should be a fair defense to it, I believe.
That's it.
You should be able to fairly defend that move correctly.
It's not like Perry Mason there. A fair defense to it. I like that.
There you go, man. So we'll talk about that further. I hope that spurs the controversy and the conversation. I feel like the NHL needs to address that sooner rather than later. You got anything you want to go with right now?
No. When we're talking about the rules here, like, didn't we see a penalty? Was it last night's game? It was holding, but then it was embellishment. So didn't we do this like for years? You and I talked about this shit. If it's a hold in the first place, how can it be an embellishment?
I don't know.
If you feel that it's a hold and there might be an embellishment, then don't call nothing.
Right. But
to call a holding penalty and then immediately call an embellishment
makes no sense.
Doesn't.
It's an oxymoron.
Because the hold is the first crime committed, Perry.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. I totally agree with you.
Oh my God!
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I think it was a couple of games ago where Lindgren got checked from behind, cross-checked from behind, and they called the cross-checking, and they called unsportsmanlike or whatever on him, embellishing, and I'm like, you can't. He had no idea it was even coming. How do you embellish that? But like you said, if it's an infraction, it's an infraction. Embellishment should stand alone. It should be a standalone call.
Listen.
Where if something happens and someone acts, because we used to talk about that all the time, a little tap or something and nothing.
It snaps back and all that.
And you drop like you got shot in the face. That's embellishment, and that should be a penalty.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But call it correctly. Like you said, if there's a true infraction, you can't call embellishment on top of it. It's horrible. It's just terrible. It's terrible decision making.
It's like you're cleaning up after the first crime. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But I've seen that happen too many times in the last week or so in some of the other games, and I just wanted to bring that up again. It's either a penalty or it's not a penalty. And if you feel as a referee, if you feel like it's borderline holding, don't call it.
Don't call it.
Let it go. That way you won't look like an asshole when you go to the scorer's table and give it to you 2 minutes for roughing and 2 minutes for embellishment. Which one is it? You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. I don't know. You tell me, Paulie, all this stuff here. It's just I think the more the game gets faster and speedier and all this stuff, it seems like more of the rules change, and they're trying to inject themselves amongst the game. And like I don't see the flow of the game sometimes the way it should be because of stupid calls, and then I don't see the flow of the game sometimes because of non-calls.
Right.
Well, you'll call this, but you won't call that. You'll call that, but you won't call this. And it happens back and forth from period to period, shift to shift. And I'm trying to figure it out. Like Lafreniere running into a player in the first 30 seconds last night. I mean, are you kidding me? These two
How
guys
does that go one way? Yeah.
didn't see each other.
Right.
Or even if they did see each other, they both hit each other. So what? Oh, interference right away. Why? Because the Rangers had the puck. And we're about to clear out of their own zone.
Terrible.
Right off the bat, it was a horse shit call. But these guys, I mean, I get it. They're under so much pressure, the referees, from the top. But common sense sometimes should prevail over that book, the rule book that's probably about this big right now, people. You know? Like, who reads through it? Not me, not you, but I don't even think the referees do, so. We'll leave it at that. A lot of bullshit on that.
Especially with the new ones.
Oh, yeah.
So, let me see. Why is there a penalty on the play the ref called? Well, I got to tell you, again, I'm trying to read some of the comments, too. I really want the comments to be on the Michigan goal. That's really where I want everyone to focus, because I want to bring this information over to our Instigator page on Facebook. I think it's important. With that, I mean, I kind of want to talk about the hottest teams in the league right now and how the window is closing. Carolina was a month and a half ago, they were awful. They couldn't win a game for winning the game. They couldn't buy a win. And now, you see this team and they're just climbing forward. Same thing with teams like the Devils. They're bouncing back. They had a horrible start of the season. A couple other teams that I can think of. You mentioned, obviously, Edmonton was
Florida's 5-0.
Yeah, Florida has gotten real hot, and Winnipeg, that's another team.
Yeah.
If you look now, it's like don't turn around, but here they come, man. They're tearing it up.
Yeah, their expectations last year were really high, and they tanked for some reason last year. But now they're right there again, battling for first overall in the league. As well, out west with Vancouver right now. So, the Jets are doing just fine. No, Paulie, this is the ebbs and flows of a regular season in the National Hockey League now. You got teams that are hot right now, like you said. We got teams that have maintained, like Boston, and regardless of how shit the Rangers played last night, people, they're still maintaining the top place area.
Right.
And you got teams like Jersey who I think as of now are out of the playoffs. Washington's in the playoffs. Tampa Bay's out of the playoffs. I mean, we're talking about three pretty good teams here that are struggling to be in that above water. And out west, I'm not sure what the situation is there, but LA was right behind Vancouver for a long time. In fact, ahead of them about a month and a half ago. Now they're dropping down like the ship's sinking. It's ebbs and flows of the National Hockey League, Paul. It's the way it goes. It's hard to maintain, like those days, like where Boston had that kind of a season last year. That's like Haley's Comet, going to come once every like 800 years, where you have a regular season like that. I mean, and like the Montreal Canadiens did in 78, I believe it was, or 77, where they only lost 8 games. It's too tough a league right now. Take a look at Arizona. Have you kept an eye on their standings right now? They're like 18-14, Paulie.
Yeah.
They're playing out of a community rink center.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yet
I know.
they're playing very well now. So you can't take any games lightly anymore.
Yeah.
There was a time, I'll admit it, I played on a few of those teams where teams just walked in and they knew they were going to beat us. You know, like my first years in Hartford, a couple years in Toronto. You can tell, but those days are over now. There's very few teams that you can take lightly in the National Hockey League anymore. So you just got to find that consistency. But hot is hot right now. Florida, Carolina, and you started off with Carolina. I want to mention this. There was a quote from Rod Brindamore about 2 weeks ago. The excuse box is full. Right? That's what he said about his team. He gave it to his team. The excuse box is full.
Nice.
He let his team know. And since then, lit a fire under their ass.
Some of the hottest teams right now, the Kraken 7-1-2. They've won. Their win streak is at 5. The Edmonton Oilers, as you mentioned, they're actually number 1 in the league with win streak at 6. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Pittsburgh 7-2-1 in their last 10. Which isn't too bad. Let's see here. Florida have won 5 in a row. They're 6-4 in their last 10. So they started off real crappy and they just picked it up. Dallas 7-2 in their last 10. And the Boston Bruins won their last 4, and they're 5-2-3. They got a ton of overtimes. I think they lead the league with 6.
If I'm correct, I think the Rangers still have the most regulation wins.
They do. They have the most wins. Yes, they do.
They still have the
25. Yep. And I didn't realize this. The Islanders, I think, lead the league. I'm almost there. The Islanders with 10 overtime wins.
That's pretty good. That's 10 extra points.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. That's crazy, huh?
Crazy. I still wish they'd do it the old way, though. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
You play a 5-minute overtime. If nobody wins, you all get a point. If one team wins, they get 2 points. The other team gets nothing.
Nothing.
That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be, because when you watch the overtimes now, I think I'm beating a dead horse here, but I'm bringing it up again. When we played 5-minute overtimes, nobody took the puck and went down there and skated all the way back to your end to regroup. That's not real hockey. I don't care what you tell me. That's not real hockey. I don't want to get into it too much because we beat that dead horse, but it's the facts.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the overtime.
It's not real hockey.
No, I don't disagree.
That's shitty on a pond. That's what that is.
Yeah. Mike, I don't know that the Wings are going to trade Kane. They keep, I keep hearing the rumors that now they want to move Kane. Now they want to move Kane. I don't know. I don't think they would have went out and signed him for what they did to just move them as quickly as they got him. So
I don't think Kane would have agreed to sign with him if that was the case.
Yeah, I'm sure he has some kind of no movement clause or an agreeable movement clause of some type. But you know what? I don't have a lot of respect for Patrick Kane at this juncture, and I think that they're, Kati and I might as well start going into the Rangers now. But we were talking about this previously. I'm glad the Rangers don't have Patrick Kane, and I think what the Rangers need, I agree with Kati. They need some beef. They need to be able to throw the body. We all know the playoffs are a different type of hockey, and you're going to have to grind out some games, man, and you need guys to do that. You need to wear down other teams' defense. You need to make them look twice, and where they, creating turnovers is big in playoff hockey. And how do you create turnovers? Is you make players think a little bit longer than they like to. And how do you do that? Is you start banging and you're crashing and you're dumping and you're chasing and you're banging and then you're crashing and you're dumping and you're chasing. And that really wears teams down and it starts to create turnovers. It becomes, chippy turnovers. And, that's how you're going to win hockey games. There's a lot to talk about on the New York Rangers side. I guess, it's 9 o'clock hour. So 9:01, we could start hitting some of the points here, Cots. I was at the Tampa game. I'll start there, and I'll go back. We'll go backwards and talk about the Florida game. But I was at the Tampa game. Enjoy the shit out of that. Living in the Tampa Bay area, let me tell you, I was so excited. I had great seats. I had a ton of seats actually. Gave some seats up, and I gotta tell you, if that team shows up the way they do all the time, I mean, I don't know if anybody beats them. They played a great game, all around game, and Kotze's correct. The Lightning have faded. We could see that. I don't think Vasilevsky's who he is. They had to lose some players over the last couple of years. They're just not as dominant and as strong as they once were. But the Rangers went into Tampa and just ripped a hole in it, and it was a great game for me as a fan to watch. Hat trick for Panarin, just real complete. The power play did its job. They really did a lot of trapping, and their transition game was good. And then you get a dud like last night, Cots, and you said it best on your Facebook page. I mean, it was just frustrating to watch, and I'm sure it was frustrating to play. The Rangers can't seem to beat that trapping component, and they don't want to give up the puck to try to gain the zone and that pressure game. So, what are your takes of the two different games here, Gods?
They played actually pretty good in Florida the other game too. I mean, they lost in the last one less than 5 minutes on a spin around goal by, was it Bennett, I think, or was it Verhage? I can't remember who scored it, where Goudreau broke a stick who was checking him, and Ranger goalie was screened on the play. So that game there could have went either way. But the game in Tampa, I mean, Panarin put on a show. Let's call it what it is. He put on a show that night. His line played well. The goaltending was good. The defense was good. Everything went well for the Rangers that game. Now, last night's game, you got to remember, okay, anybody that follows the Carolina Hurricanes, and you and I have talked about them for a few years now, every now and then on our shows. That's how they play when they play their best. What we saw last night is the best you're ever going to see out of the Carolina Hurricanes, where their defense was solid. It was one shot by the Rangers, and that was it. There was no rebounds, no nothing. This neutral zone was absolutely flooded with a carpet of red. Okay, the Rangers couldn't get through there, and in the defensive zone, I'll call it what it was. They were just totally tortured by Carolina's forechecking. They had trouble along the boards, trouble getting the puck out of their own zone, and when they did, the only recipe that I see when you play a team like Carolina and Carolina's got their A game going, you can't continue to try and carry the puck through the neutral zone and their blue line. It's got to be dump and chase. It's got to be dump and chase. And it's got to be dumped on the right side too. Don't dump it where your players aren't on that side. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not going to dump it into the left corner when all our guys are on the right side. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But that's what you got to do. You got to dump and chase against a team like Carolina when they put up that big red carpet smothering defense. And the Rangers failed to do that last night, and it was torture. It was torture for them to play because I've been there. I've been there. It's not that those guys didn't try, Paul. I mean, everybody's they took a line off this. They just got manhandled. One end of the ice, the other, from goaltending to the other. Shesterkin was not great. His puck handling was poor. Some of the defensemen that we count on had poor games. I'm not going to mention names, but it's pretty easy to figure out. And from there, like I said, Carolina just played a perfect game last night. Am I concerned about it? Again, like I always am. I'm not concerned one bit. It's hockey. You go through these ebbs and flows. I know a lot of Ranger fans have broken their limbs so far this year, including my co-host, off the wagon, on the wagon, off the wagon, on the wagon. Hey, they got beat by a pretty good hockey club last night. A club that was playing A-plus hockey. So I'm not concerned about it. But the next time they run into that situation, I would hope the players are smart enough to understand exactly what I try to portray here. Dump and chase. You got to dump and chase. They didn't dump and chase. They try to stick handle every time, from Panarin to the fourth line. Everybody's trying to stick handle through. You're not going to do that against Carolina when they're playing their A game.
Yeah. Well, so Kotz, let me ask you this.
And their power play sucked last night too.
Well, let me ask you this, because we talked about it, and I don't see Beth, but 5-on-5 play, Kotz. I mean, I know a large part of this year, and we talked about it. Panarin and Kreider have really cashed in on the power play. Zibanejad, Fox, really cashing in on the power play. Last night, the power play failed them. They had one early.
Penalty killing fouled them too.
Is it? Where does it come? Where do you?
Hi, Beth. Happy New Year.
Oh, there she is. Where do you come in? Where do you say, okay, how do we generate better 5-on-5? And, obviously, you can't rely. And let's talk playoff hockey. And I know it's too early to talk playoff hockey, but in the playoff world, you're going to have to cash in on the power play, but you're going to have to make some things happen outside of that. So where do the Rangers have to make the adjustments to kind of start to generate on 5-on-5? I don't know if you can come up with any statistics.
I did a little work. Paulie, I did a little work on that today.
Okay.
I looked at the 5-on-5, pretty much stats of the top guys on the team. And Panarin's got almost half his points on the power play. Okay, same thing with Zibanejad. Mm-hmm. Kreider only has 11 points out of his total so far on the power play this year, so he's not as counting on the power play, believe it or not, as much as you think. They're 5-on. I'll give you a good example. Adam Fox has 24 points right now, even though he missed 10, 11 games. 17 of them are on the power play. So he's only scored 7 points in 24 games out of 5-on-5. Then, that's a concern. I agree with you. 5-on-5 play is a concern for the Rangers right now. They've been successful so far in winning games because of their power play being so good and their penalty killing being really good. Last night, not so good, but it is what it is. But you said it best. In the playoffs, I don't know if you said it the way I would have said it about the power play. You're not going to get as many penalties called. You know how it works. All of a sudden, the whistle goes away. You know what I mean? You see how many cases we've seen where they could have called 10 penalties in a period and they wouldn't call it in the playoffs. Yeah. So the whistle's going to go away a little bit more in the playoffs.
Yep.
So you're going to have to concentrate on a little bit better 5-on-5 play. Now, this is where I go back to my Carolina description. You're not going to be able to dipsy doodle all the way around the ice like the Rangers like to do. They got good puck handlers, but there's going to be a wall waiting for you in the playoffs. You're going to have to dump and chase. You're going to have to. And when you dump, you got to be ready. Whatever side that goes to, that player has to be ready to get out there and not toothpick his way for the puck. It's got to be a hit. Now, unfortunately, the top 6 players on the Rangers, they're not inclined to do that. Let's call it what it is, folks. They're not the most physical line. Trocheck likes to take the body, and Lafreniere likes to take the body once in a while. But the other 4, not so much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be something they're going to have to work on. And I think that goes back to what you said about 10 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago. I think they need another guy up front there that has good skating ability, has great size. I'm not talking about 5'11". I want to see a guy 6'2", 6'3", about 220, 230 pounds that plays with a mean disposition. That's what a dump and chase guy needs. Like, how many times did you see Patrick Maroon in that fourth line work the end zones during the Stanley Cup runs for Tampa Bay? It wasn't all about Stamkos and Kucherov and Hedman and all these guys. That fourth line caused a lot of shit physically.
Mm-hmm.
It wore the other team down in order for that guy, their other guys, to play easier. So that's what the Rangers are going to have to figure out, Paul. I think they need one of those guys up front, and I still think they need one of those guys on the D. I'm not saying the guy on the D is going to play every game, but he might have to play a little more than you think when it comes to playoff time.
Do you think it's time, Cox, talking about the Rangers? I don't know when it was. It was a couple weeks ago. The kid Enstrom, he's a big kid.
Yeah. Scored a goal.
Scored his first goal there. Do you think they've had enough of a look at Brodzinski and maybe it's time to bring in an Edstrom and see what he can do? Talking about a guy up front, and we're
in that cap thing again, though, Paulie. See, the time has elapsed on sending Brodzinski back, where he can't be claimed by another team.
Right.
So he's here for good, unless something drastically happens.
Right.
Okay. I know. Okay, we might as well get into it because Mike's been beating a dead horse up there. We know that Hoffman's been called up. We also know that the Rangers signed Artie Nisimov to a pro tryout contract with Hartford Wolfpack. So they're calling up Hoffman to create some scoring, I guess. The kid's got a little bit of grit to his game too. The Edstrom thing, Kempe is another one. You know what I mean? These are guys that play physical. Again, it's all in Chris Drury's hands, how he wants to approach the playoffs. Me personally, I'd like to add those two meaty, mean, nasty, I'm going to knock the shit out of you disposition guys. That's what I want. Yeah. I think there's plenty of offensive talent on the team. I think you got plenty of offensive talent on the D. The two pieces that you're missing are up front, up back. That type of player. That's going to be big. If they can acquire somebody like that or bring somebody up that fills that role, it's going to be big in the long run.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And what do you think about them bringing Hoffman up? I know he had 9 goals, 14 assists in 28 games, but he was also on a 9-game drought before they called him up.
Well, listen, we loved him in training camp. For me, I'm thinking now how the Rangers are going to start tweaking this team to look at the playoffs. Because like we said, we both agree, I think the statistics are there that this team has to generate a little bit more 5-on-5. And we both agree it's going to be more on the physical side of things. We also said, listen, and I'm not ashamed to say this, and I don't care what the Ranger fans think, but listen, I know who Chris Kreider is as a New York Ranger, but Chris doesn't play the body. I just watched him in Tampa. The man, he doesn't finish his checks. He's really shied away from any real physical part of the game. And it would be different if he was that type of player, because there are players out there that kind of, pick it up in the playoffs. This team needs physicality. You got Will Cooley who's willing to do it. That's why I mentioned Enstrom as well. I'd like to see a little bit more, bringing up Oppman. I guess, you seem to think, and I don't disagree, there's plenty of scoring on the team. I don't know that, Oppman is the guy right now looking for scoring. I think we're looking for more of a physical end where they can. grind it out a little bit and create chances down low. I mean, we talked about for the longest time and still continue to talk about, how much I love Jimmy Vesey and that line and what they were doing. They were grinding it out. They were, hemming teams in, number one lines against our fourth line or our grind line, whatever you want to do it, chipping it with the odd goal here and there. And I think that's where that third line really needs to become that. We need another line that can kind of, grind it out pretty good.
I don't disagree, but I think the Othman thing is a potential score for the Rangers because of the fact, and I'm not down, on the second line or the top line, as you'd call it, right, was Zibanejad, Kreider, and Wheeler. But you were a little while ago against Wheeler being up there, so why not throw Othman up there and drop Wheeler down to the third line with Cooley again?
If that happens, then we're talking.
I got a funny feeling that something like that's going to happen because you don't bring an offensive guy to play on a fourth line or a third line.
Right.
I'm sorry. If you do, then
what are you doing? Right.
Yeah. So I got a feeling that might happen. Might not happen right away.
Right.
They might let him get his feet wet playing on the third line with Cooley or Pitlick, taking Pitlick's place because Pitlick's hurt. That's the reason why they called him up.
Right.
But I'm just saying, offense is not going to be a problem on this team. I mean, it's not going to be a problem. Zibanejad has picked it up from his early, wasn't doing great at the beginning, but I warned you too. He'll pick it up. Don't worry about him. But I'm just saying, Othman's probably going to get bumped up to somewhere on the top two lines. That's what I figure, somewhere along the line. They're not bringing him up for just to play on the fourth line and get 7 minutes a game of ice time.
Well, I would be excited to see him play on the top line. I think that'd be a good move. And I've been bitching. I wanted VC up there, and I wanted, I'd like to see. I'd love to see what Will Cooley could do, man. I'd like to see this kid get a chance.
He's just going to have to wait his time, Paulie. Unfortunately, I think I explained it to you and the fans a long time ago. There's a level you got, unless you're super Connor Bedard like stunning right away.
Right.
He's got to wait his time. And right now, there's two left wingers up there that are ahead of him. One's Panarin and Lafreniere, and the other one's Kreider. You know what I mean? And like it or not, that's just the way it is.
So
when he gets his shot, I think he'll be fine.
Is it really that difficult, though, Cots, for so does Cooley shoot right? Is he a right-hand shot?
Left-handed.
He's a left-handed shot playing the left wing. Is it that hard to move him over to the right wing?
No.
I mean, I'm just asking because at the end of the day, like I said, we both have agreed that this kid's got hands and he's got scoring capabilities. And he's not afraid to take the body. He's one of the guys that I'm talking about when you say dunk.
We could use another Cooley as that meaty guy I was talking about earlier.
Right.
Guy that finishes the checks. That way you got two lines back to back that take the body that eventually grind the other team down.
Right.
But right now we're missing that.
So we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. I hope you're right. He'll probably get a couple of shifts with Brazinski, and then hopefully we do see him on the line with Kreider and Zibanejad.
Now, the other thing I wanted to just now that we're on the range, let's get to it. Is it time to say goodbye to Philip Hedl?
I think Philip Hedl's saying goodbye. I think he went back to.
He went back home. Yeah, he's alone and working out with some trainer or medical guy there and all that stuff.
I think he's done, Chris. I do.
As much as I ragged on him, I don't wish anything like that upon a player, unless it's Alex Ovechkin, of course. But I don't wish anything like that on him. But,
I know. But I think he's done, man.
I don't think he's done 100%. I think there's still a possibility, maybe not this year, but somewhere along the line he gives it one more shot. And I also hear that Capo Caco is another one that's waiting in the wings in the next couple weeks. So there's going to be some scrambling to do here as to the final stretch drive, what this team is going to go with as your set 4 lines, set 3 pairs of defense, and obviously the goaltending is going to go like it is. Shesterkin's going to probably play 4, 4-1 back and forth with Quick.
Yeah.
But I still think there's some moves to make, and I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to add my 2 cents. I think Filipino's done. He's been gone most of the season, right? It's got to be the larger part of 3.5 months now.
No, not that long.
You don't think so?
Oh, it's not that long.
Well, we're in January, so
think about it.
2 months at least. I'd say 2 months. What do you think?
Did
he play 10 games? If not?
I think he played like 15 games.
I think Filipino. I think he's suffering terribly, and I think that's why he's not playing, because he's having post-concussion syndromes. And then, God forbid, he gets another concussion. I'm sure the doctor's telling him, Philip, if you get another concussion, I don't know where you're going to be. You might be drooling and looking in the sky at that point. So I don't know, man. It's scary when you start to get to the concussions.
Well, I think what happens now, Paulie, in the modern day of pro sports is the litmus test is a lot quicker now when it comes down to that kind of stuff. It was less of a litmus test back in my day and before me. You know what I mean? Right. When it comes to concussions, today's a little different. The money got so big, the contracts got so big that the league and the ownership got to worry about possible being sued by forcing you out there. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Having a lot of money tied up with a player. But again, I'm not against Filipino.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I just don't think he's coming back.
Human being. I'm just going to stick by the fact that he never lived up to anything.
No,
the Ranger fans not even do.
Yeah, I just don't know that he's coming back, man. I don't think he's coming back this year at all.
No, I agree with you. It just seems funny how he's gone back home, overseas, rather than recuperate and get better here. If there was any chance for him to come back.
Yeah.
It just seems
which will open up some cap space for the Rangers.
I think it does. I think it does.
Oh, it does.
I don't know. That's best job. Find out how much cap space they got left.
And I think that the situation with Kako, he's another player that just second pick overall. What was he taking behind Jack Hughes, right?
Yep.
Just
and it was a toss-up right up till draft day.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Yeah, it was 1A and 1B, or 1 and 1A. No. I don't know. You can't say that the Rangers missed him a ton. You can't say the Rangers missed like extra scoring or any of those types of things. He had some time this year. Didn't he start the year with Kreider and Zibanejad on the top line?
Yeah, I can't remember. He's been out for a while now, but I do know his stats were, I think 18 games, something like that. 2 goals, 2 assists, which really isn't that good. That's all what it is. It's just one of those things again, Paulie, where who knows how good Kako or Lafreniere would have been had they had gone to a worse team and got 20 minutes a night to start with. Where you come to the Rangers, and I keep telling people this, regardless of what you see, like it's got nothing to do with what you see right now. I'm talking about 9 times out of 10, when you draft a guy first, second, third, fourth, fifth, they're usually going to a team that hasn't made the playoffs since Errol Flynn was alive. Okay?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they got no choice but let this guy start right away. Let him learn by mistakes. Jack Hughes looked like crap his first year. I watched him. He didn't look that great.
Right.
By his second year, you looked at him and went, You could see that this guy's a game-changing type player. Kind of like Connor Bedard is. Connor Bedard, first overall, goes to Chicago. Chicago's one of the worst teams in the league last year. He's got 33 points in 38 games, but he's also minus 20. So he's learning to play in the National Hockey League using his skills, and yet he's a minus 20. So he's making a lot of mistakes too.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? If you're minus 20 after 38 games, that's borderline Hartford Whalers stuff back in the early 80s.
Right.
You know what I mean? The teams that I played on.
Yeah.
So it's hard to judge guys, and sometimes you get caught in a situation where there's guys ahead of you that you don't displace, and you never get a chance to really show. So I'm not making excuses for them, but that's just the way it goes with me. You know.
Yeah. Well,
it's the Montreal Canadian guy. Look who showed up. Ryback. How are them lily pad hoppers doing, Mike?
lily pad hoppers. Oh my God!
I still want that one guy on their team, Josh Anderson. I want him. Yeah, he had one goal and he hadn't scored a goal in like 25 games. Now he's scoring like crazy, and he plays the kind of game that the Rangers need. F you! Oh, you learned how to spell, huh, Mike?
Oh, jeez. Welcome to the Instigators Ball Busters show.
Exactly.
Oh,
you never heard that line before? We used to call them that all the time. We'd probably get banned.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, all that.
I've heard about it. I've read about it.
You can't take a joke what I said there, you Montreal Canadian fans. Tough shit.
Oh, my God.
You know?
Matter of fact, who did I read? I think it was George Laraque, or was it Brashear?
They both played in Montreal.
No, I know, and I had read something when you said lily pad hoppers. I was thinking of that. Anyway, I digress slowly. What did he say? You guys need
Look,
to
he can't even speak. Look, what sense does that sentence make? You need to win something. I love for you to do. You know it. You sound like Ovechkin.
Oh, Jesus. Well, listen. The Winter Classic came and went.
You were talking about that. The Kraken shutting out Vegas. All of a sudden, Vegas has kind of like slipped a little bit. But
yeah, they're
thrown by the Kraken.
Yeah, they got a little bit of a losing streak going.
They'll be tough in the playoffs again. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they care where they end up. I mean, I think they care, but they don't care. As they make the playoffs, they're happy.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a success. It's one thing that I love, and speaking of which, I hope that we make the outdoor game in Queens this year. Kind of looking forward to that.
Oh, it's in Jersey.
Is it Jersey or Queens? Oh,
no, it's in Jersey. What are you talking about, Queens?
Jersey. We're in Jersey.
Giant Stadium, man.
Oh, is it in Giant
Stadium? Giant Stadium. 2 New York teams that actually play in New Jersey.
I didn't know it was in
New Jersey. They're called New York.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. I thought it was in the Mets baseball stadium. So
no,
I'm not paying attention, am I? But anyway, I watched the fun on New Year's Day. It was pretty cool. Yep, Seattle took care of business, but I tell you, man, I just find that atmosphere to be so cool. I think that's the cool. I think that's one of the smartest. And I know we rag on the NHL all the time, but I will say the outdoor games I think are smart. And I was watching the NHL Network that day, and they talked about how many all the games and the snow and how cool that was. So it's
Yeah,
just cool stuff.
I think Beth posted a picture or something about telling me people don't like hockey, and it was a top view of the stadium. It was absolutely packed,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
which some in the past have not been, but this one was packed.
Yeah.
So it looked pretty good.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
There was so much we could have talked today too. Like I know we're running out of time here, but next week I'm going to get into with you with the mush face there from TNT going at it with Butch Goring.
Oh,
That piece of shit. And what else? There's another thing too. I can't remember.
you know what?
We're gonna get. I don't want to give the guy the time and space.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get into it next week because I think Butch Goring kind of put him in his place, with all kinds of stuff. But Mushface just got to keep yapping and flapping his gums with his big ears and his punched-in nose and all that shit. And I don't really give a shit if you hear me here. You know who you are. Don't give a fuck. How's that?
Yeah, he's a fucking turkey.
Maybe I'll see him at the outdoor game.
That's what I'm hoping for. He'll fucking run away. Anyway. Yeah, we got a lot to do next week. It's good to be back. Lots to talk about. I think next week I want to talk about Steven Stamkos. I told you I'm going to lead the show with this to kind of let people raise their eyebrows and maybe get mad at me. But I'll tell you, what do you think of a Steven Stamkos, Chris Kreider traded?
Oh!
Setting up into going into the playoffs here.
Wow. Paulie and GM here.
I don't know, man. We'll see. I do want to see what happens with Artie Anisimov. I think that's.
He's 35 years old, so get him a shot. If he can still play a little bit, then maybe he pops into that fourth line, third line centerman. If he can still play,
right?
We don't know yet.
We'll see. You said he's been out of hockey since 2021.
Well, no, he's played in the minor leagues, but he hasn't played in the NHL since May of
2021. Yeah, I got you.
And another thing I want to get on next week is my Toronto Maple Leafs. Yes, for people, I still have a little small spot in my heart for them. The fuck are they wearing? Those black jerseys? What part of that is a Maple Leaf jersey? This is black people. See? Black. They got black on their jerseys.
Yeah.
What part of the original six, the original six, does that have to do with the Maple Leaf organization wearing black?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
They must be trying to sell more jerseys because Nylander's going to ask for a $90 million contract to match Panarin's number.
Wow.
That's the rumor.
Yeah. Speaking of jerseys, and then I'm going to get out. I'll tell you what, man. The Kraken jersey and the Vegas Golden Knight jersey for the Winter Classic was pretty cool, man.
I didn't like the Kraken ones.
See, I like it because it's so retro and barbershop, like the Seattle Metropolitan. What were they? The Metropolitans.
Metropolitans. That trivia question will get you $100 every time.
Yeah. They went back to that look, and then they kind of incorporated a lot of cool things. The Kraken, like the octopus arms, and
I think there's too many colors on it, Paulie.
Yeah, and then the Vegas. I like that the vintage V I thought that was really cool, and I thought the goaltender, what's his name? I loved his pads because together they made a V. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a pretty cool spectacle, to be honest with you. You know,
You must have been drinking when you were watching this game.
I like that kind of stuff, man. I do. I love the outdoor games.
I didn't like the Kraken jersey because there's just too many different colors on it. I don't know how many different colors on it, but there's at least 4 or 5 different colors on it.
Anyway, I liked it. So, all right, next week we'll figure it out. Probably around Tuesday. I got to take a look at the schedule. We usually go Tuesday, Wednesdays usually. Take a look at it. I know there's a couple things we're going to want to do next week. Everyone, I really want. I'm going to Beth. I want to put up the question if on the Instigator page on Facebook, what the fans think of the Michigan and the Michigan goal, or however you want to call it, the Michigan play, and obviously their thoughts on can it be fairly defended in the NHL? If you can't slash a stick, how can you be able to carry the puck in such a matter, in the lacrosse matter? So I'd like to get that on the page, and then we'll talk about a couple of things this week, and then we'll go into the show. 2 big games, right? Tomorrow night?
Yep.
Obviously, Chicago. You want to take some points there, and then the big one. What is it? Sunday? No.
Saturday.
Saturday. Vancouver, and Vancouver is probably one of the hottest teams in the league right now, and obviously a pretty scary threat, and a very potential matchup for a Stanley Cup once again.
The return of JT Miller as a star now.
Yeah,
as a star in the league.
Yeah.
And how do you say it again? Canucks.
The Canucks.
You used to say Canucks, remember?
Canucks. Wouldn't that be something? 2024, the Rangers play the Canucks.
In the Stanley Cup.
94 to 24. That would be fun.
Oh, there you go.
That's something to talk about, huh?
Right. You got it there.
30 years later, right? It'd be exactly 30 years later.
It's possible.
So, anyway, we'll see what happens with the new lineup. We'll see what Ottman does. We'll see what the Rangers do. It'll be fun to watch. And we'll see you next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. Good night, everyone. Ha ha.